Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today's video is going to be a speed reviews video. I have a bunch of fun products I've been testing out from e.l.f, Urban Decay. I've got the new e.l.f Ride or Die lip balms, their new bite-sized cheek duos. I wanted to share my thoughts on the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette I recently bought. A lot of new releases, but then some things that are just kind of new to me that I wanted to share some reviews on. This is kind of just like a catch-all video for me to update you on products that you may have seen me mention that I'm trying. This is where I'm going to give you my full review on them. Hopefully is in as concise a way as possible. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with the new e.l.f. Ride or Die lip balm. I picked up just the clear version. They also have some tinted ones. This comes in an adorable squeeze tube. I just love the packaging. And I was hoping that this might end up being like my new favorite lip balm. I feel like I'm pretty picky about lip balms. This does have a mild minty sort of scent and flavor to it. I'm not sure if the tinted ones have different flavors or what. What was that? This one, oh my lord, what is that? This one does have a mild minty scent and flavor. I'm not sure if the tinted ones have different flavors or if they're all minty, but it does come out as kind of like a thick balm. It is pretty thick, and it does actually give a nice sort of glossy finish to your lips. So you could almost wear this as a clear gloss if you wanted to, or of course as a lip treatment as well. I would say in terms of its moisturizing ability, it's really nothing life-changing. I still prefer my Paula's Choice lip and body treatment balm that I use on my lips every single night. It's a very no-frills lip balm. But I wake up the next morning with the softest, smoothest lips. I swear my lips look plump the next morning. Like, it's crazy. So that one works wonders for me. This one definitely doesn't compare to that. I have worn it overnight. I feel like the next morning my lips are softer, but they're definitely not nearly in as good condition as they are when I use the Paula's Choice one. So really nothing life-changing. It's probably not going to become like my holy grail lip balm, but it is vegan. It is hard to find vegan lip balms, so it's a good option if you're looking for something with no beeswax or anything like that. So the way I really like to use it is to just kind of prep my lips as I'm putting on my makeup. I feel like it does soften up my lips a little bit and really does prep them for lipstick. The only thing you definitely want to keep in mind with a squeeze tube lip balm like this, you definitely can't apply it straight from the squeeze tube. You have to put it on your finger first and then apply it, so you always want to make sure that you have clean hands beforehand. So it's not something that I would keep in my purse to carry with me out and about. It's something that I probably just keep on my vanity or my bathroom sink and just use it while I'm home. But that's my thoughts on that. I think it's nice, it's cute, probably not gonna become like a holy grail lip balm for me though. I also couldn't resist picking up a couple of the new e.l.f. bite-sized face duos. These are $3 a piece, similarly to their bite-sized eyeshadow quads. I'm a huge fan of the bite-sized quad, so I just had to try these out. A lot of people were asking me to review them, so I was like, okay, I can't say no. I mean, how could I say no? So the two shades I picked up were Cantaloupe and Lychee. I think it's lychee or lychee, I think either is correct. But I have really been impressed with these. When these first came out, I saw a lot of people comparing them to the really popular ColourFX duos where it's a matte blush and then kind of a shimmery glowy blush topper, I guess is how you would use those, which I think kind of threw me off a little bit because some of these look more like a blush and highlight duo and others look like a blush and something that could either be used as a blush topper or a highlight on deeper skin tones. So Cantaloupe really to me is more of a blush and highlight duo, whereas at least for my skin tone, Lychee kind of reminds me more of the ColourFX duos where you have a matte blush and then shimmer that I feel like sort of matches the blush, but it's just like a shimmery version of that. So for me, obviously this shade would be way too dark on my skin tone as a highlighter, but I bought it almost to be similar to those ColourFX duos. So the way that I will wear this shade is I'll either mix those two together or I'll use this shade as a blush topper. So it's definitely not meant, for me at least, to be a cheekbone highlight. Whereas with Cantaloupe, I definitely use it more as a traditional blush and highlight duo. This shade is also matte, and then the shade really on me is a highlighter. And this is the one I'm wearing today. I would have to say that of the two, Cantaloupe is my favorite just because it's so unique. It's like a pastel orange blush, and for me, I have a hard time finding orangey warm blushes that actually work on my skin tone. This one is very pastel, very light, so probably wouldn't work if you are much deeper than me, but I feel like for fair skin tones this is such a beautiful warm orangey blush. And it's actually really easy to pull off. I feel like it looks very natural, very summery and bright, really just warms up my face, but it's not too orange. I really like that, and the highlight is sort of like a white-ish peach kind of highlighter color. You can see it definitely packs a punch. It's a very intense highlight. It's not glittery or anything, but it's definitely a pretty intense highlighter. You can of course go more subtle with it if you want, but I am really liking this one. I didn't have anything like this in my collection already, and I'm loving it. And then Lychee is more of kind of a mid-toned berry kind of pink. Really pretty also. I love this kind of color on my cheeks as well. This shade works really well on my skin tone, but I think it could also work for more medium skin tones as well. And then the way that like I said, the way I like to wear this one is mixing the two shades together to make the glowy blush, or using this shade as a blush topper, but this is definitely way too dark for my skin tone as a highlight, and I didn't intend for it to be a highlight. I really kind of wanted this to be like those Cover FX duos. But I've really been enjoying both. I think that both are definitely pretty unique to my collection. I think they have some really fun, kind of different, unexpected colors in this line, and I just think they're a lot of fun. They're very pigmented, they're very easy to blend, they last well throughout the day. $3 for a blush and a highlight, or blush topper, however you want to use them, is a bargain. Another thing from e.l.f. I wanted to review now is their Dewy Setting Mist. This is new to me, but it's definitely, I don't think it's new to their line. This is one of the products that my friend Alexandra chose for me when we did our collab together, and I've been loving this. I actually think this is a very good, cheaper alternative to the Pixi Glow Mist. It has a light kind of coconutty scent. It gives you a really pretty, just smoothed out sheen to your skin. It's not too shiny, but it just melts all your makeup together, takes away the look of powder. This is really what I look for in kind of a makeup finishing spray. The only downside to this is the sprayer. The sprayer is very aggressive, and you will end up with little droplets on your face. So I always hold it like really far from my face, and then I'll usually still tap over that with my sponge just to kind of smooth everything out, but that doesn't really bother me. I still feel like the end result is beautiful. And I've also heard mixed things about the Pixi sprayer. My sprayer was really nice, but I've heard some people have had completely different experiences with it, so I feel like that's also a problem with the Pixi version. But one other thing is it does have coconut oil in it. I know some people are sensitive to that. I don't feel like it bothers my skin, so that's fine with me, but I've really been liking this. I think it's beautiful. I'm wearing that today as well. Another new thing from e.l.f. that I wanted to try out was one of their liquid glitter eyeshadows. Obviously looks very reminiscent to the Stila Glitter and Glows. I ended up getting the shade Mermaid Shimmy, which is definitely a very unique color, at least to my collection. It's this beautiful kind of seafoam green color. I'm wearing this on my eyes today. I really like this. I think this is a great alternative to the Stila Glitter and Glows. I think it's just as good, if not even a little bit better. Now, I never had a shade like this from the Stila line, so the ones I had from Stila were more like golds and very more neutral shades, whereas this is more of a fun, colorful shade. So it is kind of hard to compare, but application-wise, it has a very similar doe foot. I mean, almost identical packaging. It's a kind of flat doe foot. I actually feel like I have an easier time applying this than the Stila ones. I feel like it's easier to apply it more evenly. The glitters are suspended in kind of a metallic, shimmery green base in this one, so it's a really pretty dimensional kind of shade. You do get slightly less product than with the full-sized Stila Glitter and Glows. This comes with 0.1 ounces. The Stila ones were like 0.15. That doesn't really bother me because I feel like the Stila ones dried out before I could even use them all up anyway. Of course, I've only had this for a few weeks, so I don't know how long it takes for these to dry up, but I will definitely keep you posted. I learned my lesson though with the Stila ones, because those I kind of left sitting in my drawer for a long time not using them. This one, now that I've bought it, I'm like committed to using it regularly, like at least a couple times a month, just because I know that this is the kind of thing that I can very easily neglect, but I am committed to not doing that this time around. So one thing I wanted to note, I didn't realize this until after I bought this, but this, I think, still does contain some microplastics for the glitter, which honestly, I thought that that was only a thing with pressed glitters, like in those ColourPop palettes. I didn't realize that that was also something that was used in liquid shadows like this. So honestly, that's a topic I'm not very educated on. I didn't even realize until I was looking more closely at the ingredients and looking up what they were, and I was like, oh crap, like maybe that is something we need to talk about. So I need to do more research on that. I know Lauren May Beauty did a video on microplastics in glitter eyeshadows. I can link that below. I probably need to rewatch it because it's been a while. Need to refresh my memory on that. But what I would recommend is removing this with tape. I do that anyway because it's a lot easier to remove that way, but it's also keeping the majority of the glitters from going down the drain into the water supply, affecting marine life, all of that. So that's what I'll be doing with this, but I definitely need to educate myself more on that and figure out how much of a concern it is for these liquid glitter shadows, but just wanted to give you a heads up on that in case that is a concern for you. Next, I wanted to share my thoughts on the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. This is not a new palette to the market. I think it's been around for probably a year at this point. I just recently purchased it. This is the first experience I've ever had with an Urban Decay eyeshadow palette, and I really do like the quality of this. The mattes are very buttery and smooth and blendable. The shimmers are beautiful. It's not very dusty and powdery like Anastasia palettes are. So I have to say, I almost kind of prefer this formula over Anastasia eyeshadows, at least so far from my experience with this palette. Now, what I will say is the color story of this is definitely more orangey bronze than I was expecting. For some reason, I thought this was going to be more mustardy yellow, but if you cover up these two shades right here, this is pretty much a bronzy palette. So keep that in mind. This is not like a yellow palette. It's very warm, kind of toasty, bronzy browns, coppers. They definitely do have kind of mustardy yellow undertones to them, but for some reason, I don't know, the color story just isn't quite what I was expecting. That's probably my own fault, but regardless, I'm still really enjoying it. I do think that it adds something a little bit different to my collection, and whenever I am in the mood for mustardy browns and bronzes, this is a beautiful palette. I've enjoyed every look I've done with it. My favorite shade is Honey, which is that really yellow gold color. I think it's beautiful. I did a halo eye with that and then some of the warmer browns. So pretty. It does also come with a little brush. It's a pretty good quality brush. It has this kind of shorter, flat end you could use for like packing eyeshadow on the lid or to smudge eyeliner. And then the other side is a little bit more of like a crease brush, but it's kind of a dense sort of blending brush. Honestly, the brush isn't as useful to me as I feel like it could have been. I kind of wish that they just put like a fluffy crease brush on one end. And the flatter side, I feel like it doesn't have enough taper for packing shadow on the lid. So I don't usually expect much of brushes, but with a high-end palette, sometimes it is nice to have a really useful brush. And I honestly don't find this brush that useful, even though it is really good quality. So but that's probably more of a personal preference than anything else. The packaging is really nice and sturdy. I don't think you could go wrong with this palette if you like the color story, but keep in mind that it is kind of a one-trick pony. Like, I feel like most people who've reviewed this have already said this, but the colors are all kind of in the same color story. Despite that though, I still feel like there's good variety here. Like, you even have kind of an olive green, you've got a more yellow gold, you have some really coppery colors, so you could go in a number of different directions with this, even though it is kind of a specific sort of color story. So I'm really enjoying it. I think it's great, and I would recommend it to anybody who likes the color story. On the topic of Urban Decay, this is definitely a newer release. I did receive this in PR from Urban Decay, so just a disclaimer there, but of course still gonna give my very honest opinion, especially because it is a high-end mascara. I'm not the type of person who normally buys high-end mascaras with my own money, so I'm gonna be pretty critical of it. I actually did include this in my last favorites video, and I will say I am loving this mascara. A lot of people don't like this. I've heard a lot of negative reviews. I personally really like it, and I like what it does for my lashes. I will say the longer I've had this open, the easier it's gotten to work with, but the first time I used this, I remember it clumped so much product on my lashes. I remember I actually filmed that on my Instagram story, so you may have seen that, but it deposited so much product in my lashes that I was like, oh my goodness, this is gonna be so clumpy. But as I worked through it, it got better. So it has a very unusual brush. I've said before, it's a kind of an asymmetrical brush. One side has bristles, the other side doesn't, and then you have sort of a ball tip as well. So weird brush. Honestly, I could do without the gimmicky brush, but I feel like it does allow for very dramatic lashes, so I will give it that. It gives incredible volume, incredible length. It looks like you're wearing false lashes, basically. But the sort of side effects of that is that it's very messy, it can be very clumpy, and it's kind of a wet formula. So I can definitely see why people hate this, but I personally can deal with those sort of negative side effects because of how incredible it makes my lashes look. Like, it makes my lashes basically touch my brows. It makes them super thick. I don't wear false lashes, so I like when a mascara can give me that false lash effect because I don't have the patience for false lashes. So if you think that you would like this, I definitely recommend it. But if you hate clumpy lashes, if you hate messy mascaras, I usually end up with some little dots of mascara on my eyelids when I use this, and I have to like kind of flake them off with a spoolie after they dry down. So if that sounds like a deal breaker for you, just stay far away from this. But I did see that they sell kind of a deluxe sample size of this for $13, and then the full size is $25. So if you can get your hands on the deluxe sample, I would recommend that, or wait for a sale. For me, $25 is more than I'd be willing to spend on a mascara, so I would probably wait for a really good sale. But I definitely could see myself buying this again, because I do really like it. I think it's great. I also wanted to give a quick review of the ColourPop Miss Bliss palette. This is actually my palette of the month. I'm doing a 1 month, 1 palette series that I just kicked off on Thursday, so I'll link that below if you missed it, but this is actually the first palette that got selected, which it's funny because it's actually my newest palette, but I am loving this palette. Of course, I'm not wearing this today because I'm wearing a mix of Naked Honey and the e.l.f. glitter eyeshadow, but you will definitely be seeing me wear this a lot. I'll also link the video below where I tried it out for the first time. I did a very like soft pink look. So speaking of One Trick Pony palettes, this is another one. You're getting some pastel pinks and some pastel corally peaches. So if you don't like those kinds of colors, I mean, why would you buy this palette? You know, it's very specific. I feel like a lot of people probably wouldn't like this palette, but if you like those kind of soft, feminine kind of colors on your eyes, I love it. I think these are the kind of colors that look beautiful on blue eyes especially. So you're getting 3 kind of cool pinks, 5 more peachy corals, and then you also do get a pressed glitter. That's the main complaint I have about this palette, is the pressed glitter. I wish that they would stop using pressed glitters, honestly. They even say on the back that that shade is not intended for the immediate eye area. In other words, it's not eye safe. So that is something that I probably won't be using just because I'm scared to use that around my eyes. Also because it does contain microplastics, so try not to wash it down the drain if you are using that type of shade. But other than that, I love all the other colors. You get 2 true mattes, and then there are 4 mattes with shimmers in them. I think ColourPop does that a lot, and you might look at that and think, oh, like why would they put shimmers in an otherwise matte shadow? Like, why don't they just leave it completely matte? It doesn't really bother me. In fact, I actually find those shades very, very easy to blend, so I don't really mind it. I don't mind a little shimmer in my crease anyway, so it really doesn't bother me. And then you get 2 sort of more metallic shades, and then the pressed glitter, of course. So I've been loving this. This is so incredibly blendable. I cannot believe how easy to work with these shadows are. One thing I will say is, especially with those mattes and the mattes with the shimmer in them, they're very powdery. When you dip your brush in there, you're gonna get some powdery kick up. That's not something that really bothers me. I feel like it honestly usually just means that the shadow is going to be very blendable, so I don't mind that, especially for a $12 palette. I feel like I'm willing to overlook that. So I would definitely recommend this if you like these colors. The only other thing I'll say is that I do think that Some of these pastel shades may not work for deeper skin tones. I obviously can't say for sure. If you have a deeper skin tone and you've tried this, definitely let us know how it's worked for you. But I can totally see what all the buzz is about for these 9-pan ColourPop palettes. I just think it's so cute and compact, and I'm really loving it. But oh, that pressed glitter, that's the one thing that I just wish they would leave out. Please, ColourPop, please. I would much rather just have a really pretty, like, metallic shadow. I think that would be just as fun and also not, like, dangerous to use around your eyes. So the final thing I wanted to review is going back to e.l.f. for a second now. I felt like this made more sense to talk about at the end because it's a little makeup remover thing. This is their new cleansing cloud. So I think this is meant to be a dupe for the face halo. I have not tried the face halo, but I am a big fan of those sort of makeup eraser-esque towels. I don't actually use the name brand makeup erasers. I've just gotten them at like TJ Maxx over the years, just knockoffs, and they work really well. So I was really curious to see how this worked. I was really excited to see them come out with something like this. It's essentially a reusable makeup remover cloth that you can just wet with warm water and it will remove all of your makeup. You don't need to use any makeup remover, cleansing balm. This on its own and water is meant to remove your makeup entirely, and it does work. It took some getting used to for me since I'm used to using the larger towels, and this, I mean, it seems really small, like how is this whole thing gonna remove all your makeup? But I'll usually use one side for my face and then I'll flip it over and use the other side on my eyes. For eye makeup, I usually will kind of hold it down on my eye for a few seconds before I start to rub it away, just because I feel like that helps to kind of loosen it up and I don't find myself having to tug as much at my eye area. The thing I'll say is that I actually recently have gotten more into using a cleansing balm instead of something like this, because with this kind of thing, I do find myself kind of tugging at my skin more than I would like to. And with things like water-resistant sunscreen, cleansing balms are better at actually like completely removing that, and then I'll go in with a regular cleanser after that. Like, it's the double cleanse method basically. So haven't been using this kind of thing quite as much recently, but this definitely does work. It's very, very cushiony and soft. It's about, I would say it's about double the size of a standard cotton round. And as far as taking care of this, it says to hand wash with soap and water after each use, and then you can also wash it in the washing machine as needed. I would probably put this in like a mesh laundry bag just so that it stays kind of contained while it gets washed, but I would probably do that like once a week, and then in between uses I would just hand wash it. And it says that it's good for 100 to 200 uses, so pretty cool product. I definitely would recommend it if you're trying to move more towards reusable things, and if you're used to using cotton rounds and makeup remover, this is a really easy switch, I think, because it's basically the same thing, it's just something reusable instead, and you don't even have to use a separate makeup remover with it. All you need is some warm water. So I think it's pretty genius. So those are some thoughts on a lot of the products that I've been testing out recently. I hope that this was helpful. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I like to do these videos periodically just to kind of keep you updated on my thoughts on products that I've been testing out. So anyway, I hope to see you again very soon, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.